Hi, my name is Korede Aziz. I call myself Yoruba Muslima. Yoruba by birth, Igbo by naturalization, if there's ever anything like that. And there isn't. It's all in my head. But yeah, hopefully you get the point. Or not. Maybe later you will. Anyway, what I usually do is I lie down and I record my podcast. But today I decided to do something different. I decided to record video and audio at the same time. And let's see how that turns out because, yeah, I hope to upload this to YouTube as well. Okay. Unfortunately, I haven't been very consistent with the podcast. Sometimes I upload weekly, sometimes I upload every other week, which is not good. But I have decided that I am not going to stop uploading episodes, regardless of how inconsistent I am. And I was tempted to actually just stop the podcast because, I mean, comparing it with the first season of the podcast, the first season seemed to have a lot more direction. And right now, this season doesn't seem to have as much direction as that one did. And I don't know, maybe that's just reflective of how my life feels right now. Because the reason why I even struggled for so long to come up with a second season was because I just didn't know what to talk about. My first season was about my experience growing up as a Yoruba girl as a Yoruba Muslim in Christian Igbo land. And once I left and once that chapter or that story was over, it didn't seem there was anything to continue with. So right now, my approach is just very laid back, talking about things that are bothering me, things that I think about, things that I to muse over, things that I'm learning. And it's pretty much very random, except that the one thing that I think is consistent, the message, or at least what I think the message is personal development and self-improvement, because that is one of the things that I have been consistent with, I think, trying to find new ways to improve myself. um yeah, I don't know why I just said all of that, but okay. um and I want to say thank you to the ladies who have reached out to me to say something about my podcast. I really, really appreciate you. And in fact, I'm going to read the amazing messages that you sent to me. So this is my shout out to you. So Swat said, I just got to this part of your podcast where you respectively called us out lurkers. I really enjoy your perspective and I find myself relating a lot. Keep up the good work. This was about the episode titled Thinking About Consistency. Thank you so much, Suad. It meant a lot to me that you reached out. Yeah, please continue to do so anytime that you find any episode that you relate with, because part of why I'm doing this is I'm trying to, I wouldn't say I've gotten to the point of building a community, but I'm trying to connect with other Muslim women out there because growing up, I hardly had any other Muslim friends. Actually, I didn't have any other Muslim friends, not to talk of Muslim girls. I don't know whether that's part of why I have problems making and keeping friends right now. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, topic for another day. So I'm going to read the second comment that I got, and this one I got from Sonia Oluwatosin. I don't know if I pronounced the first name correctly. Please forgive me. I'm a Yoruba girl by blood, and that's about where it ends. Tosin said, Hi Korede, my name is Tosin, and I'm one of your podcast listeners. Thank you for the last episode, as productivity and consistency are the banes of my existence. I lost my productivity at my last workplace and only have short bursts of energy now. I really am working on it, but it kind of seems like nothing is working for me. Anyways, I also want to tell you that I have a podcast and I'm trying to use your style. Thank you so much again, Tosin. I really, really appreciate this message, and it sort of made me feel good as well I'm not happy that you're struggling, but it felt good that there are people out there who could relate, which is, and honestly, like, you guys are the ones keeping me going right now. Like, so I feel like, okay, maybe no matter how much I'm rambling in this episode, maybe there's somebody out there who can connect and who actually wants to listen to this stuff. So yeah. Thank you guys. Today, I want to talk about seasons. As women, we have seasons of our lives. That's what I believe, anyway. There's a season where you're with your parents, you're under your parents' authority, you're learning everything you need to become a successful woman, you're studying and everything. Next comes the season where you get married, or depending on how your life turns out or what you decide to make of yourself, there's a season where you live by yourself and you work, you're more independent. And there's a season where you're training little children, and on and on and on. There are just so many different seasons, and these seasons don't always have to go in a particular sequence. Even though a lot of us plan our lives like, oh, we're gonna do this by this age, gonna do this by that age, and we just plan it according to how society has programmed us to plan our lives. But it doesn't always have to be that way, the way society plans it. But the point is, regardless of how your seasons come and when they come, you need to understand that no season lasts forever. So right now, maybe you're in a season where you're training little children. And at the same time, you feel like, oh, you have to make a lot of money because the economy is bad. I want to be a rich woman. And you have a million other ambitions and goals that you need to achieve and everything. Like, everything that you want to do in your life. And that's amazing. It's amazing to be a wife. It's amazing to be a mom. It's amazing to be an ambitious woman, whether you decide to pursue a career or pursue a business. But as women, I think we need to take it easy. I have always been of the belief that, or maybe not always been, but I believe now that it's unfair to expect a woman to bring in, say, 50% or more of the household income and still expect her to do 100% or 90% of the housework, the chores at home. And as much as we try to say that, a lot of people are trying to push the narrative of women and men are equal, we should be equally supportive in everything. A lot of times it just doesn't work out that way. So it's almost like either way you look at it, a lot of times the women are losing out. Because taking care of a home, taking care of kids, taking care of a husband, cooking every day, several times a day, is a lot of work. It's a full-time job. It's a job that never ends. It's a job that you don't rest from unless you're sleeping. It just doesn't happen. And we're always just struggling to balance things. And sometimes it never really feels like you're able to balance everything. Sometimes just feels very chaotic. And if you've successfully been able to balance all of this, please slide into my DM on Instagram and talk to me. I really want to know how you do it, how you've done it, so that I can share with other women who need to know. One approach I have come up with to help me deal with all of the chaos and all of that is to remind myself that my life is in seasons. And maybe right now I am not going to hit the peak of my career or reach all of my career goals, because a lot of my time I'm trying to spend on my family. Because now that I have a child, I want to spend a lot of time with my child. I don't want to regret 10 years later that, oh, I didn't spend time with my child when they were a cute little child, and not spending time with them will cause issues for us later with our relationship. Because a mother-child relationship is one that doesn't end until one of you dies, basically. I've realized that this season of my life is a season that I want to be spending as much of my time as possible nurturing my family and my kids and all of that. And while I also want to make money, if there are sacrifices to be made, I will sacrifice the money or the career for the family. And I'm going to plan my career around my family. I'm going to make concessions in my career for my family. Because right now, let's say I'm going to have kids for the next, I don't know, 5 years, nurture them for another, say, 10 years. But 10 to 15 years from now, when inshallah, my child is growing older and she's a lot more independent and she can take care of her younger ones, and maybe they're in boarding school or whatever, and the kids are more independent. At that time, I should be able to have more time to focus on my career. And I have seen a lot of women who didn't start in a particular field. Maybe not a lot, but I've seen a few women who didn't start in a particular field or really start building any steam in a particular field until their 40s and even 50s, but they're doing okay. And of course, we don't know how long we're going to live on this earth, but if Allah has decided that, oh, I'm going to live for 60 years or 70 years or 80 years, only Allah knows, then that still gives me about 10 to 20 years to chase the career that I want to chase to the moon, because a time will come when even the kids are not going to be at home, so there is that season as well. And you know how people say, oh, life begins at 40? Anytime I start feeling like an underachiever, or that I'm not achieving as much as I should in my age or at my age, I try to remind myself that, look, life begins at 40. This is the period for me to learn, to nurture the my family and the relationships that are going to last for the rest of my life. This is the nurturing stage. And this is a stage where I have to learn and keep learning, and I have to build the skills and everything else that I need for for my life to really begin at 40. And I am not saying that your life has to begin at 40, because your life beginning might mean different things to different people. But me saying your life begins at 40, you can hold on to that. Me saying that you can hold on to the fact that, or to the saying that your life begins at 40, is just me saying that, look, you still have time. No pressure. Take things easy. Of course, again, we don't know how long we're going to live. We want to make the most of our time on earth. But think of your life as being in seasons. And the other side of this is, if you do not do what you are meant to do in the current season of your life, then it's going to affect your next season. And knowing and thinking about it this way, when you're in autumn, you're going to be preparing for winter, right? Because the clothes you're wearing in summer or autumn are different from the clothes you're going to be wearing in winter. So likewise, you should prepare for your next season. Maybe this is a season of your life where you're an independent woman or trying to find your footing and you're not married yet, but you're looking forward to the next season of your life, which is marriage and nurturing a family. Maybe the way you prepare for that is to learn as much as you can about that next chapter of your life. Maybe it's also about learning about yourself and learning what's important to you, and learning and being clear and attaining clarity about the values that are important to you, because these are things that you would have to align with your future partner. These are things that you're going to take into the family that you're going to build, and will affect how you raise your kids and all of that. So maybe that is what you need to be doing, trying to figure all of that out if you haven't already, and maybe reevaluating as you grow to be sure that you're on the right path, and that you know exactly where you're going to be, or where your mind's going to be at by the time you enter that next season of your life. So me, for instance, I already said that this is a season where I feel like I should be nurturing my family. Of course, at the same time, I'm building my career, but I do not mind building my career slowly. I know that I am not going to grow as fast or as quickly as if I wasn't married, for instance. But as I am growing quickly, I'm trying to be very deliberate about learning as well. What are the skills and the qualifications I need to gather for me to become a creative executive, say in the next 20 to 25 years. if Allah wills. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at. I'm just looking at this period that my kids will be growing and learning as a period for me to grow and learn as well. So I'm thinking about going back to school, getting different certifications, getting as much training and many varied experiences as much as possible that I can add to my resume, so that by the time so that by the time so that by the time I am ready to really jump in with my 2 feet 100%, I already have all of these qualifications and lessons and all of that to help me on my journey. One person I keep thinking about, who I know is an inspiration to so many other girls as well, is Mo Abudu. I grew up watching her show, Moments with Mo. And when did she start? She wasn't in her 20s or her 30s when she started. Yes, of course, she had, a long career in corporates, I believe, if I'm not wrong. But the fact that she could go into media, that's like a complete switch as far as I'm concerned. She could go into media and become so big within, a decade or more, however long it took her to get to where she is right now. I mean, I take that to mean that you can start anytime, you can start later, and I'm very sure she has taken all of the experience that she had working and everything, and she's put that into building her business and growing it into such a success. So think about where you want to be in 20 years. And I know that it's hard for us as human beings to think long term, that far, because we are built to think about instant gratification, what's happening now, what I want now, what I want tomorrow or next year. But try, instead of planning against just next year, the next 1 year, the next 6 months, or the next 2 years, try to plan 20 years ahead. Where do you want to be at that time? And of course, your plans or your goals or whatever can change between now and then, but it's good to be able to visualize and plan that far ahead from now. And again, of course, nobody knows. We don't know when we're gonna die. You could die tomorrow, you could die this minute. I'm pretty sure I hear some of you saying God forbid. Yes, God forbid, but death is a reality. But that shouldn't stop us from planning. Yeah, that's about it. I hope this podcast has been useful to you somehow. Just think about it. Think about whether this idea of seasons, whether you can apply it into your own life. And as always, please let me know what you think. If you could connect to this episode, please send me a DM. I am always on Instagram. Okay, I'm not always on Instagram, but I am more on Instagram than other social media platforms. So please send me a DM anytime. I always respond, even if it takes me 24 hours to respond. I always respond. So please just send me a DM on Instagram. I am at Korayday. That is KORAYDAY. I want to hear from you. And please, I know I'm asking a lot, but please take a second or two to review this podcast on Apple Podcasts, because that's the best way people can find this podcast, if you find it useful, of course. And please share with your friends and your family. That's about it. Thanks again for listening, and bye. Have a good day, have a good night, have a good weekend, have a good week, depending on when you're listening. Until the next episode. Ciao.